Hello and welcome to the Actual Tech Media EcoCast. My name is Jess and I am excited to be here with you all today. But before we jump into our content, I have some basic information that I want to cover with you. All right, let's kick off our day here today by taking a quick tour of your audience console. And we're going to start with the questions window. So if you haven't already said hi, there is a whole audience of cool humans out there, so reach out and give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Now, keep in mind that if you do have any technical issues today, a browser refresh is going to fix just about anything. But if those tech gremlins are clinging on today, no problem. Just throw a comment in the question section and our crew will be there to help. We also want this to be an informative webinar for you, so throughout today's EcoCast, we hope you'll get engaged and ask all your burning questions. Not only will we have team members responding to you over a live chat, we will also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of our presentations. Now, if we don't get to your question during the live webinar today, don't worry, because the awesome experts that we have here with us will be following up after we wrap. All right, next up, there's going to be lots of cool aha moments on the EcoCast today. And if you want to share those with your community, we've made it nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console, and the hashtag for today's EcoCast will be automatically added to your post. All right, our last stop on this guided tour, be sure to check out the handouts tab for some awesome resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an info pack collection, solution briefs, white papers, data sheets, free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So many great resources, so be sure to go explore. Now, if that wasn't enough fun, we also have some exciting prizes that we'll be giving away throughout today's EcoCast. I'm going to tell you a bit more about those later on, but a few quick reminders for you all. First, you do need to be here live in attendance at the EcoCast in order to qualify to win a prize, and we will follow up with all of you after we wrap. Now, all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, if you don't know what those full T's and C's are, that's fine. We've got the full thing for you. Just head on over to that handouts tab, click in, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find them waiting for you there. Now, the absolute most important thing to remember is that we love getting all your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we actually have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. So in today's EcoCast, we will be giving away a prize for the best question asked in each of our live sessions. Now, the expert speakers and teams will review all questions asked after we wrap the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. If you are a lucky winner here today and you would like to donate the value of your prize, we have several wonderful organizations that we partner with. So let us know when we follow up about your big win, and we'll get that rolling for you. Again, we are so happy to have you all here with us live at the EcoCast today, and we want to keep that good feeling going, so let's connect on social media. Reach out and connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and on LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, if you're looking for more awesome content and resources right after we wrap the EcoCast today, be sure to subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. Another fun way to win a prize and, hey, grow this awesome community is to refer an industry friend or a coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you'll find a link to do that right in your handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected at the end of the webinar. And both you and your coworker or friend could win a prize, and we hold those drawings every month. So be sure to refer a friend because, hey, it could quite literally be a win-win situation. Next, we have a cool opportunity for all the decision makers out there to get connected with new and emerging tech and innovative vendors. Here's how it works. All you need to do is click on the link in your handouts tab, fill out a quick application, and the Actual Tech crew will then match you with some vendors that we think you should probably be chatting with based on your needs. There will also be fun opportunities that you get to choose to join in, like surveys, test runs, new solutions, extended demos, and so on. You'll get some chances to win extra prizes, you'll chat with great people, and you'll learn about the hottest new trends in tech. So be sure to apply, or hey, send that link to a decision maker on your team. Now, I want to take a quick minute here to remind you all about one of my favorite resources, and that is ransomware.org. You can find out everything you need to know about ransomware, how to prepare, prevent, and recover. This site is jam-packed with information, helpful tips, checklists, strategic approaches, case studies, everything you need in one place. So wherever you are in your ransomware preparedness journey, there is something for you at ransomware.org. Go check it out and start exploring. All right, I have one more exciting resource I have to tell you about today, and that is the Gorilla Guide Book Club. It's going to give you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books will work on your Kindle, your mobile device, and as I said, they are completely free. You can download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide, and there's a link for you in that handouts tab as well. All right, well, we have covered a lot of important things already, and I don't know about you all, but I am excited to dive in. So let's get going.
I am with you, Jess. Let's get going. What do you say, everyone? Hello and welcome to this Actual Tech Media EcoCast. Today's topic is transforming IT in healthcare environments. Now, this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, as my wife has worked in healthcare for decades and has some, shall we say, strong opinions about this topic. I want to start today by saying a big thank you for joining us. On the EcoCast, we've got two of the leading companies in this space, and they are Scale Computing and Nasuni. And I am Keith Ward with Actual Tech Media, and I am absolutely thrilled to be your moderator for this EcoCast. Now, we've got a few other members of the Mod Squad, as we call ourselves, and they are Jess Steinbach, who you've already met, and the others are Scott Becker and Mackenzie Pudici. So, we have got some great stuff, some great information, some great education coming for you. We also have got some money going out, coming your way in the form of three $300 Amazon gift cards. Now, remember, as Jess said, that you will need to be present throughout the entire event to be eligible to win one of those gift cards that we're going to be giving away. And with that, folks, it is time to kick off our content with a great keynote by the fabulous Brian Posey. I've known Brian for a long time. He's a wonderful writer, speaker, keynote presenter, and can't wait to see what he has for us today. Brian is going to set the table for our presentations on IT healthcare, so I'm going to throw this over to him right now.
Hello, greetings, and welcome. I'm Brian Posey, and today I want to talk about digital transformation in healthcare IT, especially as it relates to AI adoption in healthcare environments. So before I get started, I want to give you just a little bit of information about my background. As I said, my name is Brian Posey, and I'm a freelance technology author and speaker. I'm also a former 22-time Microsoft MVP, and I'm a commercial astronaut candidate. So that's just a little bit about my background. Let's go ahead and get into the content. So as I mentioned, I'm going to be talking all about digital transformation in healthcare environments, particularly as those digital transformations relate to AI adoption. Now, it's easy to dismiss a term like digital transformation as being just another meaningless IT buzzword. And that's understandable. In IT, we've always had lots and lots of buzzwords that really don't mean a whole lot of anything. But digital transformations are different because the term digital transformation has real meaning. Typically, the term means one of two things. Oftentimes, digital transformation refers to the practice of using technology to automate and improve a manual business process. So if, for example, you've got something that you've always done by hand and you decide to bring in technology to automate that process or to make it more efficient or less error prone, well, that's an example of a digital transformation. Now, having said that, the term is also sometimes used to refer to technology modernization, and that's where a lot of healthcare organizations are at today, especially with regard to AI adoption. Because healthcare organizations, by their very nature, depend heavily on IT systems and on various forms of technology. So the technology is already there. We're not doing a digital transformation where we're starting from scratch and we're bringing in technology to replace old manual processes. We're already using technology. However, the digital transformation comes into play with regard to AI enabling those systems. And that's what I want to talk about today, because anytime that you start bringing AI into the mix, especially in healthcare, there are some extremely important things that you have to think about. So let's take just a moment and talk about some of the areas where AI can be used in healthcare. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because the approach that you'll have to take to using AI and some of the considerations that you'll have to take into account are going to vary depending on where AI is being used. So there are three main areas where AI can be used in a healthcare setting. The first is for general office work. I'm talking about things like financial planning, employee scheduling, clerical tasks, and that sort of thing. Now, typically you're going to be able to use AI for this without having to jump through a lot of hoops. And I'm really not going to be focusing on general office work throughout the remainder of this presentation. But I did want to at least mention it because it is a way that AI can be used in a healthcare setting. Another way that AI is sometimes used in healthcare is the handling of private patient data. Now, this can be similar to general office work, but because patient data is being used, there are some things that you have to think about. And then finally, AI can be used in patient care. So AI can be used to help enhance diagnostic processes, and it can be used to help with patient treatment. There are any number of different ways that this can happen, and there are lots and lots of really great AI solutions for that out there. So throughout the remainder of this presentation, I'm going to be talking primarily about AI as it relates to handling private patient data and as it relates to incorporating AI in patient care. So let's start out by talking about private data. Now, anytime that you start thinking about using AI, there are a few things that you're going to have to think about. One of the big ones is, how is the AI input being processed? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, typically, if you've got an AI-driven system, there's going to be some mechanism of inputting data into that AI. And then once that data has been input, that data has to be processed somewhere. So is that data being processed in a server in a back room somewhere? Is it being sent up to the cloud for processing and then a result being returned? Because the reason why that's so important is because that's going to make a difference as to how you have to treat that system with regard to the handling of that patient data. Because if that AI input is being sent to the cloud, you have to wonder, is it being kept entirely private? Now, there are some companies out there that do guarantee that they keep your data private. But in other cases, the data that you send up to the cloud actually becomes part of the training algorithm, and it can be used to train the AI engine that's running on the back end. And the risk that you run there is that some of that private patient data could potentially end up being exposed to others who use that system outside of your organization when they perform queries to that AI. So you have to consider if your AI data is being kept private or if it's being used to train the model on the back end. Also, does your AI respect the privacy controls that have been put into place? Now, what do I mean by this? Well, typically in a healthcare environment, you're going to have different employees who have access to different sets of data. That's just a normal way of doing things. Now, those access controls aren't going away just because you adopt AI. But imagine a situation in which an employee doesn't have access to a particular data set, but they perform a query within AI, and that query happens to return something that that employee wouldn't normally have access to. That's something that you strongly have to consider when you're adopting AI, because you never ever want an AI system to override the security and privacy boundaries that you've put into place. So you have to make sure that your AI is going to respect any access controls that you've already established. Another thing to consider is, has the AI vendor completed a business associate agreement, or BAA, which is required for handling private healthcare data. So for those who might not be familiar with the concept of a business associate agreement, the idea is that healthcare organizations, just like any other company out there, tend to rely on outside vendors for certain things. And if that outside vendor is going to be handling data that contains private healthcare information, well, they have to complete a business associate agreement, basically saying that they're going to follow all of the HIPAA requirements and not put that data at risk. So you have to consider this with AI too, because technically the AI vendor is a vendor, and if there's a chance that that AI could process private patient health data, well, then a business associate agreement needs to be put into place. Also, has your organization completed a comprehensive vendor assessment? In other words, you're considering using this AI vendor, but have you done all of the checks to make sure that they adhere to all of the security and privacy requirements that your organization is subject to? Another thing to consider is patient data being anonymized prior to being sent to the AI for processing? And this is a big consideration if that AI data is being processed in the cloud rather than being processed locally. Also, has your AI system undergone the proper security audits? Because remember, an AI-enabled technology is still a technology, and like any other IT technology, there's a chance that it could be exploited by an attacker. So you have to undergo the proper security audits to make sure that that AI-enabled system is secure. Now, when it comes to using AI in patient care, all of the same types of things that I've already talked about can apply, but there are a few other things that you have to consider. First of all, informed consent is going to be required anytime that AI is being used in patient care. The patient has to know that you're using AI as part of their treatment and diagnosis. Also, it's a really good idea to have the AI system provide justification for its recommendations, because if an AI system provides a recommendation that you treat a patient in a particular way, it's important to know how it came up with that. Also, staff training and continuous improvement are absolutely critical, because AI can and does make mistakes. And if you've got a doctor who doesn't know that AI can potentially make a mistake and they rely on what the AI is telling them and assume that it's always right, well, that could be disastrous when it comes to patient care. Also, plan for auditability. So in other words, imagine you've got an AI system that provides recommendations to a doctor. You need to know, what were those recommendations? Also, did the doctor follow the AI recommendations, and why or why not? So plan on putting a system into place to audit those decisions and the advice being generated by AI. And this brings up another point. Routine model validation tests have to be performed, because AI tends to evolve over time. So you need to periodically test your AI on known data sets to make sure that it is functioning as intended and that it hasn't just gone off the rails. And then finally, contingency planning is an important part of using AI in patient care. Imagine that the AI stops working as it's intended or it goes offline. Does that at some point compromise patient care? That's where contingency planning comes into play. So with that said, I'm just about out of time, but I hope you enjoy the rest of the event. I'm Brian Posey. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Brian. Wow, great information on that. And while we get ready for our first presentation, I've got a poll question for you, everyone. Let us know your time frame for adding new or updating existing IT solutions at your company. The choices are 0 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, 12 to 24 months, and not sure. Please keep voting in the poll for another minute. It was fascinating to see the introduction of AI into all processes, including healthcare and patient information and all of that. AI has just got its tentacles into everything. And as IT pros, we've got to know what impact it's going to have. So I really love that keynote from Brian, bringing up really just more questions than answers, but questions are mostly why everyone is here today, I think, isn't it? So keep voting in the poll here. We really do appreciate that. We are seeing a pretty standard pattern here for the answers. The majority of you are not sure when you're going to be adding new or updating existing IT solutions, and pretty evenly divided among the rest of you. So keep on voting in that poll. And what we are going to do next is get this sucker moving on to the main event. And that means our very first presentation of the EcoCast today. And this comes from Scale Computing. Presenting for Scale Computing today is Mike O'Neill, the Director of Solutions Architects in North America. Mike is here in the house. He is ready to go. Mike, here we go. Thanks for being here today. Are you ready to go, sir?
Ready to go. Thanks for having me.
Outstanding. I'm going to hand you the virtual mic, so take it away, please.
All right, a bunch of mics coming at you. Here we go. As noted, guys, everybody, thank you for your time being here first and foremost. I appreciate it. I'm going to give you a little history of Scale Computing and how we can apply the native security stance that we have in place to help secure those healthcare environments specifically across the board, as well as others that fit the need. Now, a little background here, as I transitioned through this, I discovered HCI about 12 years ago when I was searching out a virtualized solution for my company. And that led me to scale computing. So not only do I wear the hat as a scale computing employee today, but I was also a customer, and I have the privilege and experience of being such. So let's get started with a little history in terms of how that works for us. Now, HCI, of course, you all probably know the buzzword that's been out there. It's very simple. It is the integration of compute, storage, and virtualization layers of infrastructure into a single solution architecture. Now, with scale computing, what we have done is brought this to the table with our scale computing platform. Now, scale computing, our virtual infrastructure, is the result of separating the physical hardware from an operating system into a virtual environment. Now, with this virtual environment, infrastructure also removes the inefficiencies of the physical hardware, such as the physical space and the cost of maintenance. Now, this was introduced many, many moons ago in the style of what we now know as the inverted pyramid of doom, or a 3-2-1 architecture. Now, it considered VMs running on clustered host servers connected by networks and supported by the shared storage appliances like a SAN or a NAS. Now, with this architecture, of course, there was a combination of components from different vendors, and that led to several challenges. Now, one of them being complexity. All the hardware layers had their own management systems, support services, specialized training, and usually had to have a few experts in the house to manage all that stuff. Expandability was also a challenge. Scaling up or scaling out was difficult, and a lot of downtime or costly upgrades usually were associated in that conversation as well. Now, there's also, unfortunately, the single point of failure that gets introduced with a shared storage platform. That shared storage often leads to expensive redundancy measures or backups as the primary way to recover from those issues. But despite the drawbacks, 3-2-1 has been in place for a long time, and it provided the essential features that we have adopted at scale computing, like high availability and live migration of VMs, that make it a very viable option for virtualization, and has been for many years. Now, the more efficient alternatives that have emerged, of course, are in front of us today, and that comes with the idea of converged infrastructure. Converged infrastructure was developed to address those complexities that we just dropped through with the 3-2-1 setup. And they're basically pre-tested to avoid problems and complexities within, and often come from a standpoint of the same separate components, just pre-installed, pre-wired, if you will. The next evolution involved integrating all of those components into a single appliance, allowing for additions of compute resources to the storage and virtual machine setups. Now, while they improve that deployment and management, they often retain similar inefficiencies of that 3-2-1 architecture. The vSANs, or virtual storage appliances that were brought to the table with these systems to manage the storage, consume a lot of CPU and RAM, and that limits. And we've taken note of that, and years ago made that a note to us that we wanted that leverage of, or that layer, I should say, of complexity in reference to those components to be taken to a much better place. Now, of course, with those inefficiencies, the flash storage side of the world comes to the table to help support and give those inefficiencies a little bit more horsepower under the covers. Now, if we move on to that VSA model I just talked about, HyperCore on our side of the world is the ability for us to manage that storage at a fraction of the resources. As you can see here, just 4 gigs of RAM per node to start off with. So that gives us a lot of resource room to run the workloads, and potentially leading to an overall reduction of the hardware resources in some cases. So a savings introduction from the start, if you will, on that side of it too. Not to mention, you get the high availability that we talked about, and still those reusable resources across the board. Now, there are 2 key components that make this a thing for the scale computing platform to work together to eliminate a lot of that management and intervention. AIM, the Autonomous Infrastructure Management Engine, is our AI ops engine before AI was cool. AI was just described here a lot as it's coming to fruition across a lot of verticals and a lot of workloads. And then Scribe, our scale computing reliable independent block engine, can help alleviate the traditional management headaches and complexities that were noted previously here. Now, if we look specifically at the healthcare side of the world, regulatory compliance is vital, obviously, to protect against security breaches. SC Platform is designed to simplify the complex processes by embedding the compliance into its core architecture. That way we can ensure the adherence to standards is an integral component rather than an afterthought. Now, a few pieces of the SC platform that support this are our integrated security controls. We're compliant with major frameworks like GDPR, HIPAA, and PCI. We bring data protection to the table with built-in encryption via virtual TPM, access controls, and audit trails to secure some of that sensitive data. Policy management tools are also used to enforce and management security policies and align with the regulatory requirements. Another key component is regular updating. Ongoing compliance and support through the updates and features are simplified and help to align with the audits that you're forced to go through. Now, SC Platform not only addresses the technological needs, but it also supports broader compliance from a standpoint by establishing goals to integrate policy management and that adherence. Now, if we kind of jump into a security stance from a broad standpoint, from an overall architectural view, SC Platform is secure by design. It is secure through simplicity, and it is secure by default. We make the product secure by default, and with a secure design in the software stack itself, it leads to a simple to use product for our end users. Now, we start that venture with HyperCore. Secure by design and HyperCore exemplifies this. The principle with its integrated hypervisor in the HCI model, which is KVM, it contrasts sharply to traditional setups like the 321 model or other HCI solutions that leverage that VSA appliance we talked about earlier. Unlike the older models, SC HyperCore integrates web-based management directly into the system as well, creating a secure, self-contained appliance. Some key security advantages here. We have reduced attack surfaces. Traditional setups with separate management servers and external SAN or NAS storage introduce multiple surfaces for attack vectors and complexity. This increases the risk of misconfigurations and network attacks. HyperCore's integrated design reduces those risks by default. Now, disaggregated solutions from multiple vendors also complicate patch management and security updates. HyperCore controls the entire stack. This allows patches to be applied across all components simultaneously, ensuring quick and secure updates. Now, the bottom line is HyperCore's design enhances security by minimizing attack surfaces, simplifying patch management, and providing comprehensive protection against cyber threats, all while being easier to manage than the traditional and some other HC models that are out there. Now, one key component we bring to the table for this is our Fleet Manager product. The architecture of platform extends beyond just HyperCore to include Fleet Manager. This is a cloud-based tool that orchestrates and monitors fleets or multiple clusters out in the field. A key security feature of Fleet Manager is that it is outbound-only communication strategy. Traffic is initiated from HyperCore. This is running on-prem. Now it's behind a firewall, and then it talks to Fleet Manager, allowing for only those outbound connections. This enhances security. The outbound-only approach prevents unauthorized access by eliminating open entry points for malicious actors while ensuring that the network integrity is maintained. This has seamless integration. Fleet Manager and HyperCore work together to provide a secure and scalable solution for fleet-wide management, enhancing the customer experience while maintaining the highest level of security that we expect. Now, the bottom line is Fleet Manager's design with its outbound-only communication significantly reduces the exposure to those vulnerabilities. Then it secures both data and transit, as well as the overall network footprint. Now, when we reduce the complexity, as we talked about, we can secure through that simplicity. Now, many of the features for SC Platform are related to this. All of the features I'm about to cover have a common thread, and it is simplicity. They have to be intuitive enough for users to actually implement without misconfigurations and with full visibility to maintain them. One of the such is role-based access. Fleet Manager and HyperCore both offer role-based access controls, as you can see by these screenshots here. This will help restrict user access to specific functions and enhance security. An example here for Fleet Manager, we can allow users to perform certain tasks, such as just viewing the clusters without making changes, giving a cluster viewer only monitor access to take a look and see what's going on. Similarly, in HyperCore, we can enable users to be assigned roles like read-only, allowing them to monitor activity without alternate the workloads. It also supports creating accounts specifically for backup functions and limiting their actions strictly to that backup or snapshot capability. Audit logging and security-related events are the actions that HyperCore can take along with being sent to a third-party SIEM tool to allow for syslogger API centralized monitoring and analysis. Now, the bottom line is the platform's rule-based access controls provide granular control over user permissions and ensure actions logged and monitors for compliance. Now, further protecting the data is also important. When we talk about protecting the data, we can enhance security in these virtualized footprints with our TPM capabilities. Now, these VTPM capabilities, along with Secure Boot, can help maintain additional security stances. When we talk about Secure Boot, we are validating signatures in a cryptographic format. The signatures within this give us the ability to protect the software against bootloader attacks, rootkits, and kernel-level malware events. It also ensures that not only the software itself is protected, but it ensures that the authenticated software is loaded during that boot process, and it maintains the integrity of that boot process for all of those guest VMs. Now, virtual TPM, if you will, provides encryption key security that is very similar to physical TPMs, and enables the use of tools like BitLocker and Lux for encrypting storage within the guest environments. It protects sensitive data from unauthorized access and ensures that data integrity. Now, HyperCore support for Secure Boot and VTPN is a strengthening piece of our puzzle by giving you the security and protection of the boot process and securing that sensitive data with the robust encryption measures that you need. Another great option within the HyperCore and Scale Computing platform is part of our data security suite. That is immutable snapshots. Immutable snapshots are a key feature of the data protection suite, offering strong defenses against data loss, including ransomware attacks. Immutable snapshots, once they are created, they basically can't be altered. They live below the network layers within our block engine for further protection. They can be cloned for recovery purposes very quickly and very efficiently, but the original snapshot remains unchanged, and this provides a very reliable point of recovery. Of course, role-based access accompanying this as well can ensure that only authorized users have the ability to delete those snapshots. That adds that extra layer of security against access or accidental loss. Snapshots can be automated. This can be integrated into DR Plan, providing frequent recovery points locally or via remote replication that's built in as well to meet the organizational points and time objections, or RPOs and RTOs. HyperCore's immutable snapshots provide robust policy-driven protection against downtime and data loss. That makes them a critical tool for disaster recovery and cybersecurity, and it is built in by design. Another critical piece is updating your infrastructure and related hardware. Managing security across diverse devices and systems can be very complex. SC Platform simplifies this process. HyperCore updates process and the support in this activity is done in spades. It's an automated rolling update process requiring no maintenance windows. Proactive vulnerability scanning is a part of it with every HyperCore release. The vulnerabilities are scanned and addressed before the updates are even rolled out. Thank you, Strikeforce. This ensures that security remains robust and up to date. Our single-click updates are a piece of HyperCore, and this offers full stack updates, covering everything from BIOS and firmware to multiple layers through its software, and all of these are tested together for compatibility. This simplifies the process and encourages users to stay current with the latest security protections that are offered. Fleet-wide management allows easy application and monitoring of the updates across all the locations. This is done through our Fleet Manager product, ensuring the consistent security maintenance across even the most extensive deployments. Now, at the end of the day, Scale Computing Platform transforms complex security management into a straightforward process that ensures systems are protected with minimal effort. Now, getting to these systems is another piece of the puzzle that can be challenging at times. With Fleet Manager, we introduced the Secure Link feature. This is a simplifying, secure remote access methodology that hypercore clusters can use without needing traditional VPNs or jump servers. SecureLink establishes an outbound HTTPS connection from the cluster to Fleet Manager, allowing secure browser-based access to the hypercore UI and console access to VMs. All of the data during those sessions is encrypted using TLS 1.2, and it has strict access controls and immediate disconnection after use to prevent unauthorized access. SecureLink also eliminates the complexities and vulnerabilities associated with VPN setups. This offers a cost-effective and streamlined remote management solution that's built in. SecureLink provides secure, efficient, and hassle-free remote access to the hypercore clusters, enhancing security while simplifying IT management. Safety from the start is also a big feature and more of an idea across the entire platform. It's a philosophy. We embed zero trust principles into the core architecture to ensure security is an integral part of the system. All of software for Fleet Manager and hypercore is developed internally by Scale Computing employees. This ensures strict security and quality control. Scale Computing platform operates as a closed appliance with no root access. We only expose the necessary functionalities. This minimizes the attack surface even further and enhances security. Scale Computing platform, secure by default design and tightly controlled development process ensures a robust zero trust security environment, reducing vulnerabilities and offering reliable protection without the need for extensive configurations. Now, our roadmap is very critical to where the security stance will go to and maintain. Scale Computing is reinforcing this with its commitment to top-tier security standards with some milestones that are on our horizon. Later this year, we're going to share the results of our SOC 2 Type 2 audit and ensure that data management continues to meet the high standards of privacy and security. Following this, we're aiming for ISO 27001 certification by the end of the year. This further validates our dedication to maintaining and improving our information security management systems. These efforts are going to reflect our ongoing strategy to exceed the demands of security compliance and protect our customers' data with the highest level of security. Now, you don't have to take our word for it. We have multiple case studies out there. Here's an example from Renee Jensen, the CEO of Summit Pacific Medical Center. They can address the infrastructure needs specific in this healthcare stance we live in today. Now, as we described, Scale Computing platform is simple. Hypercore is built with the availability of a virtualized server in a SAN, the scalability and high availability benefits of a clustered infrastructure, and simplicity of a single server. It's available. Every virtual machine created on hypercore clusters are automatically configured for high availability, meaning in the event of hardware failure, the VMs running on that failed node will fail over to the remaining nodes in the cluster automatically. It's scalable. Hypercore enables the hospitals or those medical centers to pay for what they need on a day-to-day, day one basis, knowing those systems could grow alongside their virtual environment and business needs in the future. With Hypercore, there are no upfront costs or licensing complexities. It's all right there in front of you. It is secure. For all the reasons we already outlined in detail, role-based access control, secure link, VTPM, etc. We have all those things in spades to help align the security and best practices for those healthcare environments. Now let's take a quick minute and just dive top level and take a look at what that looks like for us today. So when we take a look at Fleet Manager, we see that this is a single pane of glass that gives us visibility to the entire environment, whether that be a single cluster, whether that be multiple clusters. We can see everything that's happening from a very top level entry to our environment across wherever our footprint might be. If we drill down further, not only can we see the versioning we're living on today, but the status of those clusters themselves. We can actually dig in and get access to those clusters. We can see what's happening from a resource perspective very quickly and very easily. We can see if updates are needed. Here's the updates that we talked about, the very simple process by clicking here. And then access through that secure link methodology we talked about before. You can scroll through, find the cluster you want to access. We can go ahead and select over here on the right, say you see the console access button. When I click that console access button here, very quickly and very easily, we can see that we get in and we have access to log into that cluster. When we're logged into the cluster, we immediately have access to those resources. And again, I'm not on a VPN here. This is that secure link access. You can see the token that we use right there. Once we're within the cluster, we have the ability to do everything we could, just as if we're sitting on-prem with those devices. We can make new VMs come to life by simply clicking this plus sign, filling in a few blanks, giving the information we need from a Windows perspective or other perspective. It's Linux, other types of operating systems. Here's where we would add the virtual TPM for the security and encryption topics we covered earlier. Carve out what we need from a CPU and RAM perspective. Again, noting that we don't need more than 4 gigs of RAM gives me a bunch of resources that I can apply at the VM level to those workloads. Carving out storage is also simplified. We did not get into great detail there, but we would be very happy to get on a more in-depth demo to show you how this progresses through the ease of life or day one, day-to-day operational standpoint. Applying an ISO to those images is very quick and easy as well, and those live on the cluster through our media repository. Migrating is easy as well. In that conversation, we can simply leverage our import and export tool to get virtual machines migrated from any other hypervisor or physical environment, leveraging tools like Clonezilla. We can leverage the open text Carbonite / tools, their move icons there, or their move methodologies, as well as a very nice new migration tool with Acronis's convert to VM features. All those integrated directly to our product makes things very quick and very easy. We can also quickly upload virtual disks directly to the interface and boot to those. All these make the ability to run HyperCore through Fleet Manager and access to, as you can see here as well, the updates that we mentioned at the beginning. Very quick and very easy to manage as well. It's a simple click, see the release notes, hit apply update, and the system takes care of itself from that point forward, all the way through all the nodes in the cluster. This being a single node, there would be a downtime window. But of course, when you have single nodes, that is apparent. You're going to need to take some time off to do that activity. Back to Fleet Manager as well, you do have a very cool feature we call ZTP. ZTP gives us the ability to add nodes and deploy them remotely. Think of no boots on the ground. Think of someone that can simply plug in cables, get the information put into the system on your side from the admin side, and take that information back to create a cluster, stage it within the environment, and simply wait for it to land and get plugged in to come online and get deployed. You have visibility from those deployed clusters from that single pane of glass from Fleet Manager. You have all of your security stances and everything else to the point of ready to go within the Fleet Manager product and within the stance of HyperCore. All these things combined make exactly what we talked about. Simple, secure, scalable, all by design. So with that, I thank you for your time. Let's see, are there any questions out there we can answer for you today?
Hey, there are lots and lots of questions, Mike. That was a great presentation. And I love the demo at the end there, kind of bringing it all together and what you were discussing. I am sad to say, though, that with all of that information packed in, we have run out of time for questions. Mike, sorry about that, but I will say that I am sure Scale will be following up with everyone who asked questions. And there were a bunch of them today. They were just super engaged with your presentation, Mike.
We'll love it. We'll definitely take the fact of those questions and get back to those people as quick as possible with great answers.
100%. And I want to thank you for being here today and for just illuminating us on what Scale is doing. Always an innovative company. And I want to thank you again for being with us and for dropping some knowledge on us today, Mike.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Great stuff from Scale. As always, we love having them on. They've been a longtime partner of ours, and I always enjoy listening to them and seeing what they're doing. And in the meantime, I have put up the poll question. Please let Scale Computing know what additional information you would like about their solution. As you saw, they have a whole bunch of things they can do for you. So let them know right now while I do my next duty and give away some cash to one of the attendees here today. Keep voting in that poll. You got another minute or so to do that. And with that, we have got the first prize drawing, as I just mentioned, of the EcoCast. We're giving away three $300 Amazon gift cards today. And the winner of the first gift card is Sally Crawford from Colorado. Big congrats to you, Sally. We are going to be in touch ASAP about claiming your prize. Jeff Wiseman wants to show him the money. Well, sorry, Jeff, to do that to you, but we're going to show Sally the money right now. Once again, congratulations to you, Sally. And with that, folks, we are going to go to our next, also known as the final presentation in the EcoCast today. And this presentation is going to come from Nasuni. Presenting for Nasuni is our old friend Lance Shaw, Director of Product Marketing. Always great to have Lance on with us. He is a veteran of these events, so he knows what he's doing, and his presentations are always first rate. Now, with all of that built up, I've set a high bar for you today, Lance. Are you ready to meet that?
Hey, no pressure at all. I'm glad to be here as always. Thank you so much.
None at all. No
very
pressure at
kind
all.
intro. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Glad to have you back. And I am going to hand you the virtual mic, Lance. Thanks, and take it away.
All right. I'm taking it from the virtual mic. I want to thank Mike for his presentation on scale computing. I will just say at Nasuni, we see a lot of our customers seeing a lot of interest in scale computing for a lot of the reasons you just saw. And you're going to see in a moment where virtual environments play with Nasuni as we kind of go through this information. So we are going to pivot gears, and we're talking about data storage and delivery in healthcare environments. And everyone here is presumably connected to or in a related ecosystem for healthcare and healthcare systems and delivery of data, and which is all exceptionally important. And I want to share some ideas with you today to get you thinking about how you organize, manage, and coordinate and deliver access to data across healthcare systems. Some of you may work at, smaller healthcare environments. Some of you may be working for very large healthcare systems that are multiple states and just very expansive with a variety of different systems within those. But whatever the case may be, large or small, medium, doesn't really matter. What we're really going to talk about here is the need to sort of rethink how data is stored. And this is a quote from Julia Palmer at Gartner Research. It's a little long here for it to throw up on a slide, but the key element here is that we're moving from being providers of isolated storage arrays to enablers of data and becoming more data-centric by delivering data platform services. And that requires something that we call the hybrid cloud and hybrid cloud storage. Now, typically when you think of storage, it's kind of, a little less than exciting, let's just say, right? It's like, okay, yeah, we throw all our files there and we keep them for 10 years because for compliance reasons or whatever. But the opportunity is in front of us to do a lot more with the data and the intellectual property that we manage within our systems. And I got news for you. Buying hardware and buying storage arrays and racks and adding those to your ever expanding data centers is not a great way to do that going forward, because when we think about it here, the data that you manage, far away for all industries, the majority of your data is unstructured data. It's files. It's everything from schedules to documentation to research papers and research data and PACS images and just you name it, right? It's all over the place. And that data, it does account for a large amount of a typical organization's and a typical healthcare system's data under management. And there's a whole host of information available within that data that may have gone languishing in the past, right? It's this data that maybe you kept records and you keep research data from across multiple research programs that ran over multiple years. Now a lot of that data is suddenly being resurfaced as content that can be retrieved as part of AI-driven initiatives. So I know AI is the buzzword that just keeps on giving, but there are implementation models and there are reasons to be able to leverage it, to be able to do research faster, to come to new understandings faster, and leverage the intellectual property and all of that research and information that exists within your organization to better serve customers, better serve patients. So, as we think about having all of that data scattered around the world or around your organization, I probably should say, it's not uncommon for most organizations to have data silos. And these, typically are based on hardware. As organizations have grown, they bought more storage arrays, or they acquired an organization. There's been certainly a lot of acquisition in the healthcare space. And as you bring in a new company, that infrastructure generally tends to stay put. And what happens over time, of course, is that this data gets siloed into individual areas and individual storage units. And in those scenarios, it becomes really difficult to scale. It becomes really difficult to manage that data and use it in a way that is consistent. You can have data stored in one location at headquarters that is maybe a different version than what's in a regional office or a regional location. And now you have a disparity of potentially vital information that frankly shouldn't happen, right? But to reconcile those and to bring all that together is, something that, organizations have maybe considered doing, but, until they get around to it, it's really hard to be able to uniformly and consistently protect that data, uniformly and consistently leverage, consistent role-based access controls so that you know who has access to data and it doesn't vary between locations. And it can be really challenging to be able to analyze that data and have a visibility across all of that. Having that single pane of glass, as Mike talked about, that's whatever system you're using, having that level of visibility across your environment is ultimately essential to maintaining that consistency and making sure that information is accurate. And as we think about, okay, what am I going to be delivering into an AI model? What am I going to deliver, as part of a retrieval augmented generation system where I want to tie it into LLMs so that I can glean information that includes my proprietary data, but just the right amount of proprietary data and the data that I'm allowed to share. Being able to secure and manage that level of access is critical. And so in this model with hardware-centric silos and different areas of data being stored all over the place, that just doesn't happen. And so as you think about your future and you think about where the organization wants to go, the ideal scenario that I will put forth before you today for you to consider is this idea of hybrid cloud storage. It is a centralized location that takes advantage of object storage in the cloud, whether that be your private cloud implementations, IBM COS, or whether you be using AWS or Azure or GCP, whatever the case may be, leveraging the object storage or storage locations, plural, of your choice to provide infinite scalability and having one version of the truth, one version of files, one version of everything located in a single location and managed from a single pane of glass. However, that's great. But then when you usually think about the cloud and people think about moving to the cloud, they think latency. And when you're involved in high stakes operations and trying to come to resolution or on a diagnosis or what have you, that has to happen fast. And when you have remote locations and regional offices and regional clinics, local performance and local access to that data has to be available and fast and always there. And that's where edge performance and edge devices come into play that you can deploy on virtual machines. And there's where scale computing comes into play, is that when you're delivering that data locally in these branches, everything is intelligently cached but also synced up. All deltas and chunks are managed and synchronized back to the object storage in the cloud, so that everyone at every clinic is consistently looking at the same data sets. And you do this with the control and the security, both of the object storage itself and the immutability that's inherent within that, but you also with the ability to detect and mitigate any kind of ransomware threat that is going to occur out of those edge devices, because that's where this is, right? That's where something is going to happen, because you think about it, 80% of your data being unstructured, lots of people using it, humans make mistakes, they click on things, Happens all the time, unfortunately, and there's a lot of bad actors that are intentionally reaching out to healthcare systems in particular, unfortunately. And so having an edge detection mechanism that spots ransomware signatures, that spots unusual behaviors, and can spin up and recover very quickly from those and prevent that data or any kind of corruption from spreading, really helps minimize the impact, and certainly radically simplify any kind of downtime. And the mean time to recovery with Nasuni is measured in potentially minutes. We've had organizations that have been impacted, had to restore 1 million files, and they're able to do that in about a minute. And so it's a radical departure from typical file backup and recovery solutions that you may have used in the past, or maybe even use today. Much better way. But a hybrid cloud architecture is unique. For those of us that are still using a legacy NAS solution, physical devices in your data center, or even those that were lifted and shifted to the cloud, that those come with limits. You have a limit on files, you have a limit on volumes, you have a limit on number of directories, you have a limit on number of users. And that all goes away in this model. In a hybrid cloud storage architecture, there are literally no limits. You are gated only by the amount of data that you want to manage and store and need to, right? So it's a very different mindset, but one that is, because of this, is proving to be very successful and is deployed in hundreds and hundreds of customers around the world. So we don't have time today to go into the nitty-gritty details of intelligent data orchestration and caching, but suffice to say, this model eliminates any kind of latency that is inherent with accessing data in the cloud. It keeps everyone in sync with the security and performance and scale that you need. So we talked a little bit about AI, and I'll plant this seed for you, just something to think about. Everybody looks at AI, is evaluating AI and considering where it can actually make business sense. Yes, it's fun and it's a shiny new toy. It's the latest squirrel that just ran into the room. But so what, right? So I want to think about why I want to use this at all. Then as you start to consider ways that I can deliver information, because there are lots of ways you can take advantage of AI for benefit within your organization, but you have to get your infrastructure under control, eliminate those data silos, and consolidate them down into one. We have customers that have gotten rid of dozens and dozens of Windows file servers, NAS systems. One pharmaceutical company recently shut down 7 data centers. I mean, just you think about the cost savings alone with that. That'll wake you up. But then do so in a way that where you have the security and the controls over access and the understanding of what that data is. And that's where when you're curating your data, you're making sure that you're feeding the right data into any kind of AI engine that you might be using, and whatever that process might be. If you're using your proprietary data as part of an effort to deliver information better leveraging AI, you have to guarantee that it's accurate. Somebody once said, it's garbage in, garbage out. If you want garbage out of your AI results, then don't have any controls in place. That'd be, but none of us want that, right? So just planting the seed that, you cannot have an AI strategy without a data strategy. The two do not, they are connected. I'll give you the obligatory, logo slide, which is, that we all like to do as vendors. But I think the main thing I want to call out here is that, first of all, there are hundreds and hundreds of customers using the Nasuni today in various sizes, from some very large organizations, like Biogen and Takeda, to Johns Hopkins Medicine. These are, some very, very well-known and very large organizations. But they're not doing it just because it's the cool new thing. They're doing it because they're realizing some huge cost savings. Typically, in many cases, I'll talk about a couple of them here just for the sake of our conversation today. When they're moving to Nasuni, like I said, they're leveraging, in this case, Johns Hopkins Medicine and the hospital and the healthcare systems were using Azure, Microsoft Azure's blob storage. And they're doing it for fundamental reasons: to optimize productivity, to drive down costs, and improve the infrastructure that they're using for research. And you can see, like in this case, they've got 300 and it's over. Well, I think it's even higher now, 310 terabytes plus, all on a single Nasuni file data platform, with hundreds of people accessing from lots and lots of locations to be able to access that one version of the truth, that one version of the information that they're accessing. And examples like this continue. I mean, and it's. I think I want to stress for this crowd is that you don't simply have to be a healthcare system. There are many organizations, and even on this call, that are associated with in healthcare, or provide services into healthcare, or provides patient services, or clinical services, or research services. And whatever the case may be, you still have the interest in delivering data quickly and making the right data, having it in a single location, and really reducing the headache of managing a complex infrastructure. And that's what Blue Cross Blue Shield in Nebraska did, right? They were running on EMC, or we call it Dell EMC Isilon systems, and they had a bunch of net backup agreements in place for backup and recovery, and it was costing them a fortune. And to be able to, as they started reconsidering their options and thinking a little bit differently, they realized, look, we can take advantage of the cloud here, free ourselves up from these storage hardware contracts and frankly overpriced backup solutions, and be able to bring a large number of users and a large number of independent divisions into a single location, again, to coordinate delivery of data and make better decisions faster, and have it all in one place. Makes a lot of sense from a simplification, from a consolidation, and just from a performance perspective. I'll leave you with one last example. Awesome Radiological, easy for me to say, association. They did a similar thing where they were bringing data, doing a lot of consolidation, getting rid of not having to pay for all these expensive systems. And you can see in this example, they're storing a large amount of images, right? So, and these images they're large themselves, as we all know. DICOM images within a PACS system can be massive, and just getting larger. And managing all this data and being able to, be able to reference it and call it up quickly when necessary is critical. But you also have long-term retention requirements to consider. And so they moved to Nasuni to do that. And as you can see in the headline, in their case, they reduce their costs over 50%. And I want to just mention that is not an unusual scenario. That's actually pretty common. On average, most of our customers are reducing their costs by 50%, which is a big number, I realize. But when you think about reducing your infrastructure requirements and the costs associated with managing that, when you think about eliminating the need for traditional file backup and recovery solutions and the costs associated with just the storage for all of those backup copies, and the infrastructure and the software itself, it starts to add up pretty quick. And that money can be put to better use, let's face it. And so many, many organizations are doing just that, and just for those reasons. In this case, they saved just over $1 million in the first year. So that's not a bad return on investment, I'm going to say. It's interesting. So listen, we've had a short period of time together here today. I do want to just really, like I said, plant the seed, thinking about how you store your data and how you make use of it going forward. You need to think about the future and moving yourself into a system where you don't have to upgrade your physical hardware every 3 years, where you don't have to pay for unnecessary file backup and recovery solutions of the past. Have one environment, one place to manage, one global namespace. And I mentioned this ability to grow without limits. That's a new mindset. It's a very freeing mindset, and doing so in a way that still allows you to deliver data to the edge in a very fast and smart methodology, so that people and your customers, and your employees, nurses, whatever practitioners, everyone can access the data they need quickly and securely. And that amount of consistency plays through, as I mentioned, through security, being able to make sure that if I do have an issue or somebody does do something a little stupid out there in a remote location, I immediately know about it, I detect it, I mitigate it, I shut it down, it doesn't spread to the rest of the environment, it actually can't spread. And you're up and running, they're back up and running, and life goes on. We all know that downtime is the real killer from a ransomware perspective. It's not the ransom, it's the downtime and the impact and and the brand reputation and everything else that goes into an outage like that. So I'll leave you with that. I do want to say, if this is at all interesting to you, and if you're also considering modernizing your environment, I would encourage you not to just listen to the good folks and the very humble folks here at Nasuni.com, but look at Nasuni.com/customers and check out some of the testimonials. Go to G2. You probably already would, right? And look at the testimonials. Look at what people are saying. The impact is significant and is worth your while. I keep saying I'm going to leave you with something, but I will leave you with this. Next month, we are doing a virtual session with a number of guest speakers and luminaries. It's just a few hours, but it's definitely worth your time. If some of you happen to be living in the Boston area or in Southern California or in London or Chicago, we're also having a physical event on chartered yachts in those cities. So those are going to be a lot of fun as well. So if you happen to live there and you're interested, you can join us physically, but you can all join us virtually. And we encourage you to visit us at cloudbound.nasuni.com. If any of you have your phones, you can just scan the QR code there. But it's going to be a very interesting event. You can learn more, obviously, at that site and register, and certainly worth your time to learn more about how hybrid cloud storage can be put to use within your environment and within the healthcare sector. So with that, I know it was a whirlwind, but I do appreciate your time. I appreciate you hanging in there. And thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, you can visit Nasuni.com to learn more. And if any of you have any questions, we'll take a look here, but we'd be happy to answer those now if we still have time.
We do have time. Indeed, we do, Lance. And thank you so much for that great presentation and a chartered yacht out of London. I think it's time for me to really ramp up my knowledge of Nasuni. So I'm going to have to talk to my bosses about flying to London and getting on that chartered yacht. Okay. What do you say? Have it ready for me.
Sure. You can ride down the Thames for a little bit there. Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so I've put up, while we go through some Q&A, just like you said, I'm putting up the poll question for everyone here. Let us know what additional information you would like about the Nasuni solution. There's been a lot of great questions coming in, so you have really engaged folks today, Lance, and let's go through some of those questions. Right now, I'm going to leave the poll question up to give everyone plenty of chance to let Nasuni know what they can do next, how they can take their next step. So first up for you today, does Nasuni provide any sort of SIM integration?
Yes, great question. Thank you for asking. I think the answer is yes. I didn't really get a chance to go through that in any kind of detail, but yes, because the way the system integrates with the event information that would occur, let's say out at one of those edge sites, that something happens, we know about it, we take action, but that information is then immediately shared back to your SIEM environment so that you can take secondary actions, right? Because you're going to have your SecOps team is going to have playbooks, I should say, that are immediately going to kick into action. Hey, Nasuni detected something out at the edge, out in the Dublin office, Dublin, California, Dublin office. Something's gone wrong. We've got a bunch of unusual activity where we've automatically shut off the IP address of that user and shut them down. We've identified the files that were corrupted, and we've told you what to do to take action. And all of that information is also shared not only in reports for insurance purposes from Nasuni, but then shared back into SIEM systems like CrowdStrike, yes, and are very famous, and Microsoft Sentinel. And it's a syslog system, so really it can be integrated with any SIEM system whatsoever.
That is great to hear. Yeah, great to hear. Okay, I also want to remind everyone while we do some more Q&A that there is a great handout from Nasuni that shows you their healthcare offerings at a glance. That is something to check out and download as we go through the Q&A here today. So next question up, and this one, Lance, seems like it comes from someone with personal experience in this. And the question is, what happens if a corrupted file gets copied into the cloud? Does it spread from there?
That does sound like someone that's had a painful experience and
Yes.
in the past. No, yeah, the answer is no. No, the interesting thing about the architecture of Nasuni is that first of all, it's detected at the edge, as we mentioned. It's sort of an early warning system, and that is captured at that particular edge appliance, edge device. When you go to recover that file, it is automatically moved back to the previous version. So you can choose to keep it from an inspection perspective, or you can choose to eliminate them altogether. But they are not kept within the cloud. They are not, and they are because you're going back to that immutable version. They're automatically off the table and no longer a threat to anyone. So they do not really. The question there is, do they spread? And the answer is no.
Okay, great. Yeah, and that's of course hard experience, and so that's exactly what they need to hear. Okay, next question, and this comes from Jeff. He wants to know, what does a high-level project flow look like for a Nasuni deployment?
That's a great question. I will. Thanks, Jeff. I will say that sometimes they think about, wow, I've got hundreds of terabytes to move. Oh man, what does that look like? And the good news is that it goes well. But I could probably spend the next half hour talking about the details of a typical onboarding and deployment of Nasuni for most organizations. At a high level, there is as you might imagine, there's a professional services engagement that we set up. We have kickoff meetings. We plan and analyze your entire ecosystem. And I will say sometimes that involves finding data that you didn't even know you had, right? It's like, oh yeah, we have that.
Right.
I forgot about that SharePoint site sitting out there in that office over there. But nevertheless, there's a complete analysis of your physical environment, where your data is stored, the types of data, and also the permissions and the access controls that are in place, because all of that is effectively migrated into Nasuni. So there's a lot of planning that goes into a migration. It's not just copy and paste, as we all know, right? Just to be a little facetious. But the fact of the matter is, there's a fair amount of planning that goes into understanding exactly what's going. And also, do we want to do it all at once? Some organizations say, you know what, I just want to move this headquarters data or this segment of my data. I want to move that into Nasuni, and I'll do these other ones in a staggered approach. And then we have other organizations that just say, yeah, we're doing it all. We've got to get out of it. We're tired of wasting our money on these other systems, or contracts are coming to an end and they're like, yeah, let's just go. And so there's a planning exercise. Obviously, there's the physical migration, which, by the way, can run in parallel. So even if you have like 12 different file share systems, they can all run simultaneously. And in some cases, we even have the ability to effectively set up a proxy environment where your users can start using Nasuni on day one. That's immediately where any request for a file is seen and moved into Nasuni by that proxy environment. That's a little more than we have time to talk about today, but typically the migrations, I don't say typically, that's the wrong word. Always migrations go very smoothly. Some are larger than others. Some of you have very complex environments. Those, no surprise, those take a little longer. But with the right planning and the execution, it goes smoothly, and the cutover is one that users almost always, unless it was scheduled and say, we're going to cut over on Tuesday at 10 Eastern. But in most cases, the users don't even know, right? The data was available when they left work, and they came back the next day, and data is still available, and that's it. So I know that's just a very high level and very short synopsis, but there's lots to consider. But the important thing to know there is that many organizations, some very large, 7, 12 petabyte, many very large environments, have migrated to Nasuni to realize the benefits. And it's something that is, I would say, getting to be commonplace.
Yeah. And it's a great springboard for letting us know what you can do. Okay. Well, there's a bunch more questions, Lance, but we are out of time right now. Thank you so much for the presentation. I wanted to mention that Nasuni will be following up with all of you who asked questions that did not get answered today. So have no fear. If you asked a question, you're waiting for an answer, you will be hearing from them. So once again, Lance, it's always a delight to have you and Nasuni on. Thank you so much for your time and presentation today.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks everyone for attending today.
Absolutely. All right, folks, and I'm going to leave the QR code up here for another minute while I give away the last 2 Amazon gift cards of the event. So you have another minute to click on that QR code. So we had 3 $300 gift cards today, and we have 2 left to give out. And the winners of the gift cards for this event are, I'm going to do my best to get this right, Saini Kundapati from North Carolina. I hope I said that correctly. And the other is Carl Longenecker from Pennsylvania. Congratulations to all 3 of our winners today. We are going to be reaching out to you ASAP, so sit tight on that. And with that, folks, what a great event we had today. I just had so much fun. And based on the feedback and all the stuff I was seeing from your questions and your engagement, it was something that you love too. So know that we can do the same kind of thing for you and your company. We would love to hear from you to help determine which of our hundreds of events each year would be a good fit for you, or perhaps a custom event. We do lots of those as well. We can tune the content to exactly what you want to reach your audience. So hit us up at connect@actualtechmedia.com. And let's get that conversation going on the possibility of doing one of these just for you. And we've got another one of these coming up that I wanted to tell you about. It is going to be on Thursday, September 5th. And as if I recall right, that is the opening day of the NFL. So, of course, that's a big day for me. And this event is the power of data enabling automation and operational efficiencies. As I said, that's going to be September 5th, starting at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time for those of you on the other coast. And there is going to be some great stuff coming there. Data is currency now. Learn how to make it work for you. So make sure you sign up for that right after this event is over today, which is going to be just a few seconds from now, folks. On behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, we're wrapped. I want to thank Scale Computing and the SUNY for making today's event possible, for their great presentations, for their Q&A insights. And finally, last but never, ever, ever least, I want to thank all of you attendees for being here with us. I love being on with you. It is the highlight of my day every time we have one of these, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have today. Can't wait to see you in the next event. That concludes everything for today, folks. Have a great rest of your day.